So to provide a simple empirical test of the Meltzer-Richard model, I will use a Zoom recording to do this, which I've not done before. So I hope, so bear with me. I hope it works out. So I will share my screen now and basically work you sort of what I would do to do this. So we share the screen, and now basically, so what I have done is I have gone to the OECD website earlier when I made the graph about that shows Gini coefficients for a variety of countries. And basically on this website, you can then find links to all sorts of databases, etc. These are very good to use by yourself in a way, you know, like, so you can use these graphs, of course, for all sorts of purposes, for your essays or whatever. But I just use it to get to the data, and then you eventually end up at the OECD stats sort of database, which is this really unfriendly looking thing, and it's really annoying and messy, but it contains a lot of information. So once you get a little bit the hang of how this works, it's really not very hard. It's just sort of annoying to click around in it. And I went to this basically and looked at both Gini coefficient and sort of the amount of total government spending or something like that. So I found in the income distribution database, I found this Gini disposable income post taxes and well, I actually found the pre-tax and transfer version as well. It's in here somewhere. Can't find it so quickly now. Where is it? Here, market income before taxes and transfers. And it doesn't exist now anymore, but I promised it existed earlier. Basically, I went and downloaded some of this data and put it in a slightly more manageable format. And so I have a spreadsheet now that has all OECD countries, all 35 or whatever it is, 36 OECD countries, and I have sort of average government spending of the last 5 years, I think, as a share of GDP. So what percentage of national income goes through the hands of the state, basically, and I have the Gini coefficient, specifically the pre-tax and transfer Gini coefficient. So what can I do with this now? Well, I can, of course, use Excel to make a scatter plot, but that's not the point here. We will use much nicer tools than just scatter plots, and we'll use much bigger data sets. So what I will do today is I will show you how to make a simple scatter plot in Stata. And for this, I pull up Stata, which is this software that you've already installed. And I have to confess, it looks very user unfriendly, doesn't it? It's all white and nothing to see. Not very friendly. But I promise you, it's really easy to use. So what do we have here? Here's a sort of main window where results appear. Here's a command line, which is something probably you're not familiar with at all, but back in the day, computers basically used to respond to sort of written commands. And then there are some other windows, history, where all your commands appear, and variables and all sorts of things. And there's also menus, so file, open file, these kind of things that you're familiar with perhaps from other software. And what we'll do first is we'll use the editor, which is up here, a data editor you can click on, or you can type your command, because that's how Stata, of course, works, and how other software works. You can type edit. And basically what it does, it pulls up something that looks a lot like a spreadsheet. But there's nothing in it because I haven't put anything in it. So what I'll do is I'll take this data from the that I downloaded from the OECD website, and that I sort of made nice, and it has basically just as observations, as units. It has the countries, and then it has the the values of these variables, and in the very first line are the variable names. So we have 3 variables: country, government expenditure, share of GDP, and Gini coefficient, pre-tax and pre-transfer, and all this data. And there's nothing else in the data set. So what I'll do is I'll copy this, Control C or Command C, and then I will just paste this here into the Stata editor. And the first thing it does, it asks me, the first row on the clipboard contains values that can be used as a valid variable names. Do you want to treat the first row as variable names or data? And I know that I put variable names, so I say variable names, okay? And then it basically takes this data set. And so now Stata has this data set in it, so I can close the editor again. And what I can see now here is that basically there is under variables, I have 3 variables: country, GDP, government expenditure share GDP is the name I gave it, and Gini is the name I gave it. And basically what I can do now is I can issue commands. There's also a graphical user interface, so you can do all sorts of things here with data, graphics, statistics. So there's many different types of graphs you can make here, many different types of statistics you can calculate, of course. But I will teach you how to use the command line interface because it is much faster and much easier than learning the menu. But you can, of course, in many cases, try to find through the menu what you're looking for. And the first command we'll be using today is the scatterplot command, and it is, like many commands in Stata, very sort of intuitive. So the command for making scatterplot is scatter. So I type scatter, yeah, and then I type the variable on that is supposed to go on the y-axis, or I can click here also, but I can just type gov x GDP, and then I type the variable name of the variable that goes on the x-axis, and then I hit enter, and it prints nicely the command that I've given, and it shows me sort of the scatter plot. I can make this large as well, and what we can see here is basically that we can't see much. So we have now plotted this relationship between the Gini coefficient, pre-tax and pre-transfer Gini coefficient, and the government's expenditure as a share of GDP, and we can't really see all that much going on. So if you're very much into seeing patterns where there are, then you can see a positive relationship here, but there is not much going on, is there? And if I had used some slightly different data, or more a wider set of countries, for example, than just the OECD countries, so with more unequal, more sort of developing countries in it, it would probably actually show a negative relationship. So a higher pre-tax and pre-transfer Gini coefficient is usually not actually associated with more government spending. It's kind of the opposite. Countries that are highly unequal also have usually quite low government spending. Okay, I'm gonna pause the video here. If I figure out how to do that.